Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who don't know him, Ian Cameron is a crime fighter who used to work for Action South Africa. Well, Ian Cameron became very famous due to his confrontation with Bekele. You may recall it, he told Bekele told him to shut up because he's not a goddamn boy. And Ian Cameron was talking to him in that fashion, according to Bekele. Well, Ian Cameron has now been elected as an MP of Parliament thanks to him joining the Democratic Alliance. And would you know it, he is now being tasked with heading the very portfolio, the parliamentary portfolio, that once told him to keep quiet and shut up and go to the corner. And that is the police.
That is absolutely correct. And I think we're going to see more of this. There's two elements to the story that's very, very important. Number one, good people from outside politics are joining political parties. And number two, good people from the outside are going to have real power in Parliament. So let's start with the first one. I think the Government of National Unity, of which we are fans, presents a great opportunity for people outside of politics to join politics and to actually have real influence as opposed to before. ANC's been in power for 30 years. They had no real competition. You joined the ANC for grift. You joined the DA because you cared. But now you can join the DA to actually make a real difference. And I think that's a fundamental change in the way politics works in this country, a positive change at least.
Yes, so Times Live today actually did an article, and I suppose let's just start off with this article, because the thrust of it is actually kind of important to the rest of the video. The first is they said the DA and the ANC are no longer basically ideological adversaries. They're no longer the natural-born enemy. They're now in cahoots with each other. They are basically cooperating with each other to the betterment of South Africa. And the interesting thing about this is that many of us predicted that they would basically be sitting there blitzing each other as for fun, and they'd just be screaming and shouting salad at each other on a daily basis. Well, they did do that during the negotiations, but now the negotiations are finished. And the actual government of national unity is starting to be rather interesting because you see, this whole idea that everybody should just club together and work together for the betterment of South Africa no longer just applies to the GNU. Yes, the GNU are getting on pretty well, and they're all trying to do their best. But what we recently saw in the election of Ian Cameron was even the EFF standing there and saying, you know what, maybe we just need to try hold the executive to account, do our jobs properly, stop acting like clowns, and just basically get on for the best of the country. And if you actually watch the video of them all talking together, Ramon, it was rather cordial, which I'm not used to seeing when it comes through to any parliamentary committee ever.
We hope that there will be something to show to the people that we're working, and that's the only way of earning our titles. Otherwise, it won't be worthwhile. So we're here today under your leadership and guidance, and we hope that we'll finish our business on time so that we're able to do other things outside. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. I was about to say that you infiltrated this building so well that the Deputy Minister didn't even notice. It was brilliant. With that, we may start. General Masemola, I think I can hand over to you now. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Before...
Honourable Ndlozi, please.
Thanks, Chairperson. I just want to make a general statement about the quality of oversight. Most of all that is going to be presented today was shared last night. So I want to direct my comments to you, Chair, that we don't want a situation where we are steamrolled by the executive. The committee, at least in your hands, in your direction, must be allowed to do qualitative oversight.
Indeed, you see someone in red overalls, Dr. Ndlozi, he's got a PhD, so we'll call him Dr. Ndlozi, telling the chairperson, Ian Cameron, like there are issues with the executive, they want to steamroll us, we need proper accounting from the committee over the executive, and this is the way to do it. And Ian Cameron tends to agree with him as well. Very interesting dynamic. It hasn't happened before in a material way, because Ndlozi is, doesn't like white too much, doesn't like whiteness and white capitalism, and apparently Ian Cameron exemplifies all of those things, but they'll happily work together to solve an issue. So that's the one thing, getting good people into politics, which is very important. The other thing is the Police Portfolio Committee itself. This is the portfolio committee that holds the executive to account, the Minister of Police, the Commissioner of Police, and the DGs of the police department. And to call police dysfunctional is going to be, let me say, vague terms, because it is extremely dysfunctional. Ian Cameron knows what is wrong with the police. He's made mention that there are not enough detectives, not enough specialized detectives, not enough budget to go around. Can we say for certain, Byron, that his appointment will actually make a material difference in police performance, though?
That's a very good question. And I suppose to a degree, yeah, we probably can. So, and you may say, well, how? And the actual reason comes in from Ndlozi himself. Because what he said is that when you look at the executive and the executive does anything to do with any portfolio, they basically just steamroll whatever agenda goes forward without any real oversight. And that's to a large degree because the oversight committees don't have the reports on time. A lot of it is spent on, lunches. And a lot of it's also spent on just calling each other sellouts and screaming and shouting at each other about whiteness and, I don't know, some other rubbish. Well, what he's saying is that this is not actually very good for anybody. And what they all need is they need reports prior to the meeting. They need the reports, the actual meetings themselves to be cordial. They need to discuss the reports and they need to try actually use what they are finding to better hold Parliament, the executive, to account. It's all very interesting because you see in the past, we all know the executive's never been held to account. And would you know it, this comes from an EFF member. And the way that he addresses Ian Cameron shows, to be frank, they're on the same side, which kind of is quite surprising. I've never thought I'd see the EFF on the same side as the DA on anything. But what this does show is that in this current Parliament administration, something that we've been saying and we've been observing, is it does look like maybe we're seeing a maturing of politics in South Africa. And with that maturing of any form of political order in our current government, yeah, things can only get better. That should be self-evident. It should be obvious.
It should be quite obvious. And the most important part of all of this is that I think there's now direct competition in Parliament, in these portfolio committees. Before, all of the portfolio committees used to be chaired by ANC members or alliances attached to the ANC. Accountability was like you meet the minister's your friend, you just rubber stamp what he says, and on you go. There was no real accountability ever in the past. Now there is, because now you've got heads of portfolio committees which are different political parties from the executives. So, for example, John Steenhuisen, as the Minister of Agriculture, will account to an ANC portfolio committee head, whereas Senzo Mchunu, who is the police minister, will now account to the DA head of the portfolio committee. So this political competition hopefully does deepen democracy as we know it and does deepen accountability as we know it. And for Ian Cameron, I must repeat, going from someone in civil society 6 months ago to becoming one of the chief officers holding the police minister to account is quite a rapid rise. And it's something that, A, the DA should be congratulated for, but B, important to note that if you are someone on the outside who feels they can make a difference, I think now is an opportune time to take that opportunity, so to speak, and go into politics and actually make a real difference. The GNU has given everyone that opportunity, and Ian Cameron is setting sort of the trailblazer in this regard.
Ian Cameron is being the trailblazer in this regard, but let us not take away something from him. He's been on the ground many times. He's actually walked many townships. He's seen what goes on. He's addressed many communities. Arguably, he's the most qualified individual to work in the police portfolios. Who else has this kind of experience? And you know what? That's really all we need, right? We need some actual people with actual experience that really care about communities to take charge of these type of activities, these ministries, these portfolios, and just try have everything for the betterments of the nation state. I mean, that's how you enhance the state, is it not? And it would appear that under this administration, it does look like what everybody's trying to do. How long it will last, whether or not the results will be there, I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. But I suppose the best way to summarize my opinion on this is just cautiously optimistic. I'm not saying that it's, Wakanda forever, but, things seem to be on the right path.
And my final conclusion is that once you strip ideology away from solutions and you only focus on solutions that empower someone like Dr. Ndlozi, that empowers someone like the police minister, that empowers someone like Ian Cameron, once you have solutions that are not ideological, that everyone agrees on, you can make real progress. And I think the GNU offers that opportunity like never before. It would be a shame to let it go to waste.